Okay, at this time, I'd like to call the meeting of the Madison County Fiscal Court to order. Kenny?
Master King.
Here.
Master Barger.
Here.
Master Hughes.
Here.
Master Combs.
Here.
Judge Clark.
Here. You all had a chance to look at the minutes of the last meeting. If there are no changes or discussion, motion would be in order to approve those as submitted in your packets.
So moved. Second.
Master King.
Yes.
Master Barger.
Yes.
Master Hughes.
Yes.
Master Combs.
Yes.
Judge Clark.
Yes. Treasurer's report. Glenna?
I passed out several things in your packets. You received our audit for June 30th, 2011. We had a great audit. We had no comments on the audit. Everything was good. You all received that. You also received a quarterly report ending March 31st, 2012. And then I also gave you out a report for ending April 30th, 2012. Our fund balance on March 31st, 2012 was $5,530,560.36. And the fund balance on 4/30/2012 is $5,026,677.32. If you look at the individual funds, the general fund, the revenue, right now we should be somewhere approximately around 83%. The revenues were 81.2%. Our expenditures are 54.9%. The road fund is 93.3% on revenues and 88.4% on expenditures. The jail fund is at 91% revenues and 89.6% on expenditures. CSEP is 59.8% on revenues and 59.6% on expenditures. And 911 is 87.9% on revenues and 80.3% on expenditures. We also have two budget amendments going through today that will bring up, when we budget them in that money in, it'll bring some more line item money into those, the road fund and the jail fund.
Any questions for Glenna?
I think you're doing a good job.
Not great job. Good quarterly, Glenna. Thank you very much. Before we get into the order of business, I'd like to amend the agenda just a little bit. I'd like to start out with a proclamation for EMS, and Carlos Cole and Jimmy Cornelison are with us today representing them. And also, we've got down at item 8 and 9, first reading of ordinance 1206 and 1207, and those are land use change regulations. Dwayne called me this morning, and he forgot that Dylan, his son's graduation from kindergarten is this morning at 9:30. So I suggested that he go to graduation, and we would take these two items up at our next meeting. So if the court's okay with those amendments, I don't think we need a motion. There's nothing involved. Everybody okay with it? Okay, if not, start out with the EMS proclamation. And Jimmy, you and Carlos want to come up? I'll read it, and then we'll just ask you some questions and tell us a little bit about what's going on in the runs. And the proclamation is, whereas emergency medical service is a vital public service, and whereas the members of emergency medical service teams are ready to provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, whereas access to quality emergency care dramatically improves the survival and recovery rate of those who experience sudden illness or injury, whereas the emergency medical service system consists of emergency physicians, emergency nurses, emergency medical technicians, paramedics, firefighters, educators, administrators, and others, and whereas the members of the emergency medical services team, whether career or volunteer, engage in thousands of hours of specialized training and continued education to enhance their life-saving skills, and whereas it is appropriate to recognize the value and the accomplishments of the emergency medical services providers by designating Emergency Medical Week now. Therefore, I, Kent Clark, Madison County Judge Executive, and the Madison County Fiscal Court, in recognition of this event, do hereby proclaim the week of May 20th through May 26th as Emergency Medical Services Week, with the theme EMS, More Than a Job, a Calling. I encourage the community to observe this week with appropriate programs, ceremonies, and activities. Witness my hand this day, May 22nd, May. Jimmy, we all know what you all do, and of course you all are the directors. Just thought while you were here, we'd bring us up to date on what's going on with the EMS and the taxing district, and the runs, if you don't mind.
I don't care a bit in the world. First, have Angie, Mark, and Mike, 2 paramedics and 1 to be. Soon, hopefully, we get Angie in school. Last year, we did 14,996 runs. We've got 13 licensed ambulances. We have right now about 68 people, or not about, we've got 68 people. We can peak out around 75, depending on our part-time, what that involves. We've got 4 members right now in the paramedic class. We try to keep a bigger number of paramedics, obviously, for the advanced life support, for what the benefits of it. And so by hiring people who may not be paramedics at the time and sending them to school and obligates them to stay with us, and usually by that time either they hate us or love us, so they'll either run out the door or stay with us for 20 years. We are busy, very busy. I'm sure as you see them run up and down the roads here, I have a dedicated crew. I can't say enough about them. I can't say enough about Carlos and my staff there at the ambulance service, my secretaries. We are fortunate. Carlos and I went to an in-service yesterday at Eastern for head trauma, infant head trauma, to bring us up to snuff on things that are going on with those type of injuries. And Bill Young, who's the education coordinator for the Commonwealth of Kentucky, was there, and I spoke to him. And we are, as he said, recognized across the Commonwealth of Kentucky as a premier service, and we plan to keep it that way as long as we can, which shouldn't be any problem whatsoever. We have people who make application almost daily to work here, so obviously we must be doing something right. Any questions from the magistrates that I can answer you about anything that's going on at the service at all? We do have, just to bring up one note, we have one of our board members, Randy Rigsby, who is the retired fire chief from Berea, who is still in Arkansas undergoing cancer treatment. We get emails daily from his mom, so we have been short Randy for a while. We also had a board member that resigned, and as I spoke with the judge this morning, I talked to Dr. Glenn Burkett. He was the associate pastor, interim pastor at First Christian Church, who I go to church with, and we have, Judge and I have talked about this, and he'll bring it up to fiscal court once I get a letter to them about replacing our member who resigned to that board, 5-member board.
Any questions?
Good job.
Thank you.
Good job, Jimmy. Carlos, thank y'all for coming in. We appreciate it.
Y'all
Here,
want-
Carlos, you want to take this?
Frame that.
Frame that along with all the others.
Carlos, you said
Okay, next, we're very fortunate to have Mr. Odell Hill. I think John Wilson was with him, and Odell wants to talk to a little bit about the Lions Club and the American Flag Project. Odell?
I wanted to thank the Fiscal Court for this invitation. The Lions Club about 2 months ago began to realize that we needed a little bit more fundraising. And so we began to cast around for ideas, and with the example of a few other cities of about the size of Madison, of Richmond, one of them being Madison, South Dakota, where my sister and brother-in-law live. We got the idea of having a flag day. In fact, 6 flag days over the course of the year, starting with Memorial Day and ending with Veterans Day. That would include Flag Day, July 4th, Labor Day, September 11th, and Veterans Day. You may have seen the story in the paper that appeared about 5-6 weeks ago that publicized the flag. This was the first flag that we had raised at the Richmond Register. It was appropriate that it appeared in the Richmond Register. We have talked to various individuals. We right now have are ready on Memorial Day to raise 55 flags within the vicinity here, from Anderson Carpet on 75, off of 75 in the north part of town, to Arcadian Cove, way south, from Oldham Robertson Powell over to Southern States and the bypass beyond. This is a project that's just starting. As I said, we just began to do this a couple months ago, and we hope to increase as we go along. The cost for signing up to have us raise a flag for you, and this is what it would look like. It's a 3x5 flag. That would be in front of your establishment or agency or business. It would be at a 45-degree angle, about 5 feet off the ground. And it's my hope that we can flood the downtown with flags like this. I think that about half of the 55 flags we're putting up will be in the downtown area. There are two particular reasons that I myself feel involved with this project. One, of course, is for the Lions itself. As I said at the beginning, this is a fundraiser, and as you may well know, why we focus on sight impairments. We furnish eyeglasses. We do other things. We have built a home in conjunction with Habitat for Humanity for a legally blind person in this city. We also came to the aid of tornado victims 3 years ago. That is the first reason. But the second one is quite personal. In fact, I have felt involved with this in a way perhaps that I wouldn't have otherwise. My son is currently serving in Afghanistan. He's going to be home in a few weeks, we hope. But I just wanted to mention that as a personal reason. I, again, thank you for this privilege of appearing before you and trying to get the word out, as it were, about our project.
Odell,
Yes.
the main question, and you failed to mention it, was what's the cost of if the fiscal court wanted to sponsor a flag in front of the courthouse?
$30, yes, I should have mentioned that. $30 a year, not $30 a flag raising, but $30 a year. And anyone who wants to jump in on this after Memorial Day or any of the other holidays would be prorated, of course, for the remainder of the year. We would love to do it wherever we can be.
If you don't mind, when you leave, if you got any information with you could leave in the office?
Certainly do, and I will be happy to do it. This is
good.
full of information. Okay.
Odell, thank you so much for coming in. I think it's a great cause, and of course, we all know what the Lions Club does,
Well,
benefits
I hope
they do to people. So I think you'll be very successful with your flag days throughout the year.
Thank you very
Thanks
much.
for coming in.
Judge.
That's a good way to raise money. We might need you around. We might need to raise some money for something. That's a good idea.
John Wilson, good to see you. Thanks for coming in.
See you, John.
Okay, now, next on the agenda is we were very fortunate that KET made a decision and worked very closely with Philip Seifried, who is our historic properties manager, and they decided that it was so important that they came over and spent a whole lot of time in Madison County doing a small clip. There's no telling how many reels of film they did, but as in anything, a TV commercial or whatever, you cut it down to hopefully the best parts. But they came over and worked with Philip and did a little 9-minute clip. We had a reception out at the winery, and they came over. We had a lot of people that came out and viewed it for the first time. They played it on KET last Saturday, I think at 8 o'clock. And we just felt like that Philip did such a wonderful job with it, and KET did such a wonderful job with it, that we'd like to show the audience and show people on the screen.
Thank you Confederacy was trying to win Kentucky over to the southern side. Kentucky was really split, but it had a lot of Confederate sympathies. 25% basically of the Kentucky population held slaves, and it was their way of life. By getting Kentucky into the Confederacy, the main defensive line would then be the Ohio River, and the Confederacy could take the fight into Indiana and Ohio. The Union Army found out about this, and they sent a very inexperienced army from Louisville to this area in order to stop the Confederate advance coming up basically the I-75 corridor. Most of the soldiers have been in 2 or 3 weeks. They had very little training, very little manual of arms. Confederate troops were more experienced. Most of them had fought at the Battle of Shiloh in April of 1862. They had also been together longer, meaning they knew each other. The unit cohesion was much better, and they met here in the outskirts of Richmond and Madison County. The battle started about 7 a.m. on August the 30th, 1862, with an approximately 2-hour artillery duel. And then they started this, what I call the dance of Civil War battles, where they're always trying to get on the flank or on the side of each other's army. And they're constantly turning and switching and moving. The Confederacy was much better at doing this at this particular battle, mainly because of the inexperience of the Union commanders and the Union troops.
The heat, was overwhelming with lack of water, and a green troop facing an army that was coming at them nonstop. Nothing they did stopped and phased the Confederate army.
Someone would start to run, and then another one would run, and the Confederates are putting more pressure all the time, and the whole thing falls apart.
One of the enduring images of the battle is of Union General William Bull Nelson attempting to rally his panicked troops in the Richmond Cemetery.
General Nelson was trying to encourage his troops in the Richmond Cemetery by about any means possible. And toward the end of the fight, he said, "Boys, if they can't hit a barn door, if they can't hit me." And about that time, the slug slammed into his leg. And it becomes a rout. The Union Army was about 7,000 soldiers. When it was all over with, only about 500 got away. After this battle was over, the Confederacy went on to take Lexington and went on and took Frankfort. It was the only time that a federal state capital fell during the entire Civil War. This battle was overshadowed by another battle that was fought on the exact same days. It was the Battle of Second Manassas, or Second Bull Run. And this battle is basically forgotten. After Perryville, the Confederate columns go back to Tennessee, and it's over with.
Through the years, the memory of what happened on these fields faded, and modern development landed it on the list as one of the most endangered battlefields in America. A small group of concerned citizens vowed not to let that happen.
In the 1990s and things, people started, we've got a battlefield here. This is no different than putting McDonald's on Normandy. We thought that wasn't the right thing to do.
It was a group that really understood how important, the battle was, how important it was to the history of Madison County. And they formed, and then they went to work on trying to make people aware of what a significant part of history we had out on 421 in Madison County.
That got the ball rolling here. And since that time, we've saved almost 600 acres, several structures, opened a visitor center, have interpretive signs from one end of the county to the other all along the battlefield route. And we're moving along well for being still in our infancy compared to most battlefields.
Going beyond textbooks and forgotten monuments, the Battle of Richmond Association has worked to bring the history to life through living history events and its annual battlefield reenactment.
To sit in a history class and read facts and figures out of the book does not spark today's children's interests. And at our Living History event, they're actually getting to see firsthand how life was in the 19th century, not only from the soldiers' viewpoint and what they wore and what they carried with them and their weapons, but they get a taste of 19th century life.
I've had a group of school kids. They've talked to a photographer. They've talked to a Harper's Weekly correspondent. They've talked to a minister with the Union Army. They've talked to a black Confederate soldier, and he had some interesting stories to tell. So not only have they been out to see the battle and gone to the T and actually interacted with the public, but they've heard some very interesting stories all through the day.
They never knew. They never even dreamed about a huge battle being fought right here in Madison County. So, you know, it's educational. It really is, and it's something that they won't forget. And hopefully, their kids will be able to hear from them, their grandparents, and they'll want to go visit Battle of Richmond Park, like so many people have.
This ground oozes with history. I mean, this is where it took place. This is sacred ground. We don't need to put houses on it. We need to preserve it so we come out here and reenact and teach history.
It was such a pivotal point in our country's history. I mean, we have been involved in so many conflicts over the years, and they've all been very, very important. This one happened here. It was Americans against Americans. It's an honor to be able to do this here. You know, these people here have kept this so pristine, so nice, and kept as much as they can with the modern encroachments around it, you know, to preserve this spot where our history was made. Soldiers fought and died, and you can stand there and you can feel this.
To me, all reenacting is a living history book. If you sit in a classroom, you're distracted, you're bored, you come out here and the pages come alive. You get to witness and experience the sounds and that and the thrill of being here.
Most people just don't realize that they have a significant Civil War battle in their backyard. People that drive from Richmond to Berea are driving through some of the bloodiest ground that ever was fought in the state of Kentucky. We have people that come to the visitor center and they're flabbergasted that they're walking on the exact same floors that the soldiers did at the time of the battle. You can walk through and wonder what the Rogers family was doing while the armies were drinking their well dry, or the dead that laid out in the front yard and the flowers being trampled. It gives a really unique connection with our past.
You can talk about a battle and the Army moved here, the Army moved here, but you put a person's name, face to it, that makes it more human. That brings out, well, this is not just an army of nobodies, it's an army of people, sons, husbands, and family members, you know, that are brought into a situation, you know, they're actually fighting for their life and what they believe in.
Noted Civil War historian Ed Bars perhaps said it best when he stated, "No other group in the United States has done more to save and preserve their battlefield and related sites as the Battle of Richmond Association. And their work is far from over."
We have only scratched the surface as far as the Battle of Richmond Association is concerned. I hope when I'm in my 80s, the group that takes my spot will carry on the same tradition that we have started.
No one individual, no one entity, government or individual group could have ever put together the funding to do what we've been able to do. You know, it's been a partnership with everybody.
This is an effort that never ends. We will never be finished. Battlefield preservation doesn't end. It may take different faces, but it doesn't end.
I hope y'all enjoyed that. Philip did an excellent job. Okay, Philip's going to get up. He's got some things in department heads that he's going to talk to y'all a little bit about, and he can make some comments about that. Next is Resolution 1208. This is the 911 funding. Bring it kind of up to date. We've been very fortunate in the county through the consolidation and savings of about $1.3 million to the three governments. But we've been lucky too because we've been using equipment that's 12 and 13 years old. That just doesn't work anymore. So our radio system along with our CAD system at our 911 is antiquated, to say the least. It could go down any day. And where would we be? What would we do without 911? So we have met our interlocal government meetings. The two mayors and I have met and come out with some prices. Carl has been very instrumental working with his group in putting together the ideal package for the radio system, advertising that and tweaking the bids to make sure we get the best. The radio system's going to be roughly around $750,000, and the CAD system roughly around $225,000, counting installation. So all of a sudden we're talking about $1 million. Well, Carl, in his wisdom and relationship with FEMA, was able to go to Atlanta and see Terry Madden, and in turn Terry talked to Washington and explained the importance of 911 right now as far as being the 24/7 responder, as far as letting the emergency, the tone alerts off, the sirens off, putting the emergency messages on TV and radio. So Carl, he made them realize that it was so important that we did this. So they agreed to match up to $400,000 on the radio system. So it looks like we're going to get about $375,000 from the federal government to do that. The balance, we've decided to just go in and borrow the money. We can get it at 3% locked in. This resolution, the county will go through the Kentucky Association of Counties and borrow it, but we will enter into, before we get the money or sign the closure on the loan, we'll have a MOA or a memorandum of understanding from both city governments that we're all responsible equally for the payment. And then hopefully, we've been talking about it, we can look at options to where we don't get in this position again. 5 or 6 years from now, it won't be $1 million, it'll be $1.5 million, and so forth and so on. And we've been very fortunate with FEMA, you know, anywhere from $15 to $20 million coming into this county every year. Well, one of these days, the gas will go away. Now, some say 20 and 21, some now they're saying 23, 24. But it'll eventually go away, and when it does, that federal funding for all this emergency equipment will dry up. So we as governments are looking into different arenas, different ideas on how we can start building up an escrow account to take care of things like this. But this is something, we've been fortunate. I mean, to get 12 years out of a radio system is unheard of. You can talk to Chris. So we have to do it. It's a matter of the utmost importance. So we're going on with this, and Resolution 1208 really just gives me the authority, along with the fiscal court, to go and enter into the loan process. We have to have a public hearing and for the state, date, and local officer, and once that's cleared, which I know it will be, it'll be fine, then we'll go on with the payment and then try to get this going as soon as possible. And when Carl comes up for his report, I'll let him update you a little bit on where we are with the bid specs and what kind of time frame we're looking at. But I'd be more than willing to answer any questions anybody might have about this.
I've probably already been told. How long a term is the note?
4 years. Mm-hmm.
It's City of Berea and Richmond.
Yes, we'll sign before we ever sign the loan, Larry. We'll enter into an agreement that we're all three equally responsible for the payments. The payments are roughly about $51,000 a year, and that's in the budget. We've budgeted that along with the three governments pledged when we started this consolidation with Berea, $40,000 apiece for operational expenses. As we all know, nobody has a landline anymore, and buildings slowed down, and the people that had them are getting rid of them because of the cell service that we now have here. So it's getting a little bit more costly as far as operational cost. So and it'll be in the budget, and I just wanted to bring this out, and we'll talk about it, and we've talked about it with the magistrates. We're going to raise the 40 to the 60, and all three governments have agreed to do that also. So that will give them a cushion as far as operational cost. And then if we've got any left, we'll take that and put it in an escrow account. But we're going to have to do something in the next 2 or 3 years to start building up a pot of money to replace this radio and CAD system in 5, 6, maybe even 7 years. So that's where we are, but that's what we're doing now. We're trying to replace this radio system before it goes down, also the CAD system, and the sooner the better, because we all know what we do without 911. Jimmy just told you 15,000 runs just by the EMS alone. So, you know, there are first responders with every first responder. So I'd like the court's permission to authorize me to enter into documents borrowing the money. We don't have the exact amount, but it's going to be roughly about $575,000. That's counting the CAD system. We could not use government federal money for the CAD system, but we can for the radio system. So I'd like court's permission to approve Resolution 1208 so we can get started on this and get it done.
So moved.
Second.
Judge, have we got a committee or anything that's maybe studying like the places have had nerve gas and now it's gone, that we can get information from them, what they've done?
Carl's been working on that for a long time. He's talking to people that have been there, and he's going to put together something for us when we get a little bit farther along. But
I think we can get some valuable information.
it's interesting. I mean, they've got 827 people working on the project right now. And that'll increase over 100 next year and over 100 the next year. But we're working to look and see, you know, in 2020, 21, or 23 or 24, how we can take advantage of that $5 billion investment out there and also take advantage of that skilled workforce that's out there working and keep them in Madison County.
Well, I've often wondered what we're going to do when it is gone.
You know, but and that falls right in with the 911 radio system. You know, we're going to have money to run our emergency management system. We're going to have like people that train. You know, they're training everybody in the county now, businesses, schools, manufacturers. So we've got to continue to keep that program going. So, you know, this will tie in with the money to redo the radio system when it has to be done in 6, 7 years, where eventually when the feds do move out, we've got money to maintain our emergency management system.
You know, that's our goal, for them to move out sooner the better, but you know, when it does, the pot dries up.
Yeah, that's right. And it's, I told the other day, you know, personally, I'd love to see it be gone 18 or 19, but as the county judge executive of Madison County, I wouldn't care if it stayed around to 24 or 25. But seriously, they're working. The plant's 50% complete now. Funding has been approved through Congress for the next 2 years. And that's something else we're going to have to work together to make sure, to ensure that funding can continue through the 2020, 21, or 22, or 23. So, you know, they're talking about cutting the Army $500 billion. Well, the Army's the one that funds this, so it's things we have to watch. Okay, next.
Discussion. We didn't get a vote.
We need to vote.
Oh, I thought you.
I was making sure discussion.
Any discussion? Any further, Larry?
No, thank you, Judge.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. Master King?
Yes.
Master Barger?
Yes.
Master Hughes?
Yes.
Master Combs?
Yes.
Judge Clark?
Yes. Next is first reading of ordinance 1203, and this is a budget amendment with the jail fund. You all have copies of that. And what this is, and as Glenna told you all in her report, these are amounts that came in that were unexpected. So what we're doing is taking this, and the total amount of reserve for transfer is $119,594 that will come out of these, like the state jail allotment and contracts with other counties. Doug's doing just a great job over there, and you know, to bring in this that was unexpected means a whole lot, especially getting that jail budget down as far as the, you know, the commitment from the fiscal court. So if there are no questions, motion will be in order to approve ordinance 1203, which is a budget amendment for $119,594 into reserve for transfer for the jail fund.
So moved.
Master King,
Yes.
Master Barger.
Yes.
Master Hughes.
Yes.
Master Combs.
Yes.
Judge Clark.
Yes.
I wonder how many other jails in the state is reducing the commitment of the fiscal court to their operations?
Not many. Not many. You've got, what you got, Billy Ray, you've got several counties, and there's some money as far as consolidating 2 or 3 or 4 counties. So you've got some of that going on in the state. You've got a couple of jails. Henderson County, going up the Parkway, not Boyd County, but the next one, that they're really breaking even or making a little bit of money, but they've got 500-600 bed facilities, so they're keeping that many more federal and state prisoners. We're just not in that position over here. So, Doug's doing a great job with what he's got to do, and, I'll bring it up while we're saying we're getting in gear on our home incarceration program. We've got office set up, and just waiting for the equipment, and we've got a deputy that's came from Jerry's office that's going to be running the program, and we feel like that it could be very successful. It could pay for itself, or come close to paying for itself, and free up 30 or 40 beds that Doug's overcrowded, and maybe where he can keep some state prisoners, which are paying prisoners, and get some of those people over there that really don't need to be in jail out. So that's going to be a good program, and we've included that in the budget. It'll be run through fiscal court. The deputy will be paid, the expenses, all those things will be done, and the money will come to fiscal court. So it'll be kind of a fiscal court operation as far as the home incarceration. We just felt like that was the best way to do it.
Who collect that money, Judge? And will the sheriff have to collect it, turn it over to us? Or?
No, the officer that's collecting it, and she'll make a deposit and bring the receipt every night to Glenna.
Okay. I mean, I'm not questioning it.
Yeah, it's just the money will come straight.
into the general fund.
Okay. Any other questions about that?
We need to vote on the first reading of the jail fund.
I thought that's, we just did.
Yep.
I've got another one here. I've got 1205, 1204, and that's a budget amendment on the road fund. And this is another unexpected revenues that came in that weren't budgeted, where the state had raised some things like the county road aid and municipal road aid, money that we've got that's kind of discretionary that we didn't count on. But we've got $255,968 to go into reserve for transfer coming from the transportation cabinet, the county road aid, and the municipal road aid. So this is another, great way to end the year, putting money back in other than taking it out. So
we must be living right or something.
well, we've just got great employees and great department heads, and they're doing an excellent job. And I might add, it's some of the notes I was going to say on the budget, but we'll go back into that. But we usually transfer anywhere from $300,000 to $500,000 into the road department out of the general fund. And with our new budget coming up, we're not transferring any. We transferred $300,000 last year out of the general fund, and we think the road department can stand on their own this year. So that's another very positive note about what's going on as far as being conservative, watching what we spend, and saving as much money as possible, and still providing and upgrading services. So if there are no questions, a motion would be in order to approve 1204, and that would be the transfer of $255,968 out of the road fund into their reserve for transfer.
I'll be glad to make that motion and more of it.
Second.
Master King,
Yes.
Master Barger.
Yes.
Master Hughes.
Yes.
Master Combs.
Yes.
Judge Clark.
Yes. Next on the agenda is first reading of 1205, and that's our fiscal court 1213 budget. We don't really go into a lot on first reading. We just have to get this in on time frame with the Department of Local Government, but we'll be going over this. We've kind of touched on everything in here, but we just need to get this done, but it's pretty close. I think it's about a $38 million budget, but there are a lot of things that we want to go back over and make sure that we've got right on this. A few things, occupational tax is remaining right there. We haven't, through the economic turndown, we haven't lost any as far as occupational tax. Transferred other funds, we're down over $300,000. The 911 support will be the difference. We're raising that plus paying equipment off. You know, just things are good. Chris, I don't know where Chris is, but he does such a wonderful job taking care of all of us. I mean, I think Kenny can attest to that. And Chris, working with other entities, brings in over $50,000 a year into the general fund, just with the kind of contracts helping out people like the Berea Police Department and the clerk and the PVA and EMS and 911. So we're very fortunate to have Chris. You know, another positive thing is we'll have the Station 2 Fire Department paid off in August. So anytime you can pay off debt, Bill Ray, that's a good sign. So we're working towards that and not taking any new debt on unless it can pay for itself. So things are looking up. Last year was a really good budget. We were able to cut funding in just about every department and not lay anybody off. We haven't had to do that, and we hadn't had to cut services. So, you know, everybody's working together, the fiscal court, the department heads, the employees, Glenna and her staff, my staff. So, you know, it's hard to say, but the county's in excellent shape. It really is. So I'd answer questions, but kind of the first reading is really just the first reading, and then once we get a second reading, then that'll be made available to the paper and anybody else in the county or the state that would like to look at a copy of it. But at this time, I'd like to court's a motion to approve 1205, and that'll be our first reading of our 1213 budget.
So move.
Second.
Pastor King?
Yes.
Pastor Barger?
Yes.
Pastor Hughes?
Yes.
Pastor Combs?
Yes.
Judge Clark?
Yes. Next, Dwayne can't be here, but I'm kind of familiar with it. We've got a land use change for Bobby and Marilyn Garrett, 2410 Big Hill Road from C7 Community Agriculture to C4 Community General Commercial for 1 acre. This is in the Big Hill area. It's kind of right behind the store. There's a restaurant right across the street. They've got the opportunity, I think, and don't want to announce it, but there's really a good business that'll be really good for the community that's very much interested in that, and Bobby and Marilyn are negotiating with this company, and they would like to ask the C7 Community Ag to the C4 Community General Commercial. It was discussed intensely with the Planning Commission. It was unanimous from the Planning Commission to approve this. It falls right in line with what we're trying to do in the community corridors. So at this time, as I always do, I'd like to ask, is there anybody in the audience that would like to come forward and say anything for or against the proposed zone change on 21 in Big Hill? If not, any questions from the magistrates? Any discussion? If not, upon the recommendation of the Madison County Planning Commission, motion would be in order to approve land use change for Bobby and Marilyn Garrett from C7 Community to C4 General Commercial for 1 acre.
Well, that's my district, and I'd move we go ahead and approve it.
Second.
Pastor King?
Yes.
Pastor Barger?
Yes.
Pastor Hughes?
Yes.
Pastor Combs?
Yes.
Judge Clark?
Yes. Okay, next, and we just got this in. I hope she got y'all a copy. But this is our county road aid program. This is money that comes from transportation to help us take care of our county roads. We're one of the unique counties. We have several contracts with the state. One where we take care of the rural secondary roads. We're the only county that does that in the state of Kentucky. But this is the money that comes in every year from the gas tax. Every county gets it. It's based on the number of miles, also the population. For the fiscal year beginning July 1st, this amount is $973,428, and that's up a little from last year's, so we're very fortunate at that. And they need a resolution so they can go on and start processing the paperwork. And I'll have something also that we want to remain part of the municipal road aid, but that'll come after we get this done. So if there are no questions, I'd like a motion to authorize me to enter into the resolution an agreement with transportation for the county road aid.
How much is that up, Judge? You know roughly?
Well, Glenna, about 100. They change it, and they give us numbers, and then it always changes when we get the final contract. So that's why we're off a little bit. But Glenna called Department of Local Government, so we think we've got a good number this time.
And we still hold 3% back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you end up getting your last payment into the next fiscal year, so that kind of throws you off because they give you the number for what you're going to get for that fiscal year, but you end up getting some, the balance of your prior fiscal year.
But we'll get the balance of this year. It rotates, but it equals out. It works out good. I mean, but that much money coming in from transportation for a road department, and that's what's helping let them stand on their own.
Makes it good for a county to have all this money coming in, so.
That's,
the 3%'s good for emergency that should come up too, to back up on.
and I promise you, we probably take more advantage of that 3% than anybody in the state. Okay, no further questions, then a motion would be in order to authorize me to enter into the resolution with Department of Transportation for a road aid.
So moved.
Second.
Master King?
Yes.
Master Barger?
Yes.
Master Hughes?
Yes.
Master Combs?
Yes.
Judge Clark?
Yes. Judge's report, I've got just a few things, a few comments. I want to congratulate, I think Fiscal Court would too, all the candidates, whether they won or lost. They all ran really good races. Everything was up and up, you know, and everybody did a great job. I'm sorry we didn't have a better turnout. It bothers me, but, you know, that's just part of it right now, and there wasn't enough to really get the people out. But I think in November in the presidential race, you'll see a really tremendous turnout. But I want to congratulate them. Hope you all have seen the I-75 Connector newsletter. They're moving on that. I think it's a project that's going to be done. Roger is attending, representing Fiscal Court. Dwayne's representing Planning and Development, and then they've got some local farmers that it will affect. But it's going to be a great project. You know, the funding, as always, is a problem, and I think they're looking maybe bonding so they can go on and get started on some. But there's so many archaeological and environmental tests that they've got to do. So it's a ways off, but people are really interested in it. And I think, you know, some of us here might see the connector from Nicholasville bypass into probably the Boonesboro exit. Insurance went great, open enrollment. Glenna didn't have a problem. Want to thank Elliot Turner. We all work with Elliot. He was awarded the Wastewater Operator of the Year for the state of Kentucky this year, and I mean, that's special if you look at the districts and the cities. Every city has one, 420, and he was chosen the best in the state, so he's doing an excellent job. You all have got reports, the sheriff's quarterly, and personnel records were in your packets. Golf reports in your packet. Clay's doing an outstanding job, and if he keeps on track, he's getting better and better and better. He's getting close to breaking even this year if the weather stays good. So that's in your packet, and also Carl's CSEP reports in the packet. You all have those. If you have any questions about them, please feel free to call us. Call any one of the department heads or whatever, and be glad to talk about them. Clay, I promise, would love to talk to you about his report. If you've got an hour and a half. No, I'm just kidding. He likes to, he does a great, I'm telling you, I can't say enough about Clay. Leroy and I were out there looking at things he'd love to do, but doesn't have the money to do right now. That's all I've got in the judge's report. Department heads, I know we've got several. Carl, you want to go?
First thing I wanted to let you guys know is today, right now, when I left to come here, we're doing one of the quarterly exercises with the depot. It was in progress when I left. I got to start it, but then I needed to come here. And we do those every quarter just to make sure everyone's equipment's working and we're all tuned up, and tried a couple new things, so I'll be interested to see how they work when I get back there. But like I said, we do that all the time, every quarter, so it was our time to do it today. Talking about answering Larry's questions about lessons learned from other CSEP closures and things. Yeah, we meet and talk about it on a regular basis. We even have a couple couple meetings on it, and I attend them all. We're way ahead of the curve on our planning for when it goes away. A lot of the states didn't start planning to the year it was going away. I started making plans for it about 5 years ago, and I've got all the costs tracked of what it is, and I've talked to various people about it. And we're going to meet in July with all three governments. Mayor Conley asked me to come there and talk about the latest lessons learned, because Alabama's closing now, so we've got new data to bring, and I'll be getting that in June when I go to the national workshop. But we'll sit down in July, all three governments, and talk about what does it mean and what's this newest lesson learned from Alabama. But we know there's certain things that we probably won't be able to keep funding at the level we funded when we had CSEP, but we just need to pick the important things and keep those, you know. As far as the 911 phone upgrade and CAD project status update, we had one vendor presentation this month, and we have the other vendor presentation June 5th. Those were the two best bids that FEMA's partner with us has been looking at. Out of all the bids, we picked two, the best two, and so we'll have the last presentation about all the things that their system does. Wendy and her crew have been involved because they're going to use the system. It integrates with the radio system, this new phone system, and it integrates with CAD. But we should have some really good answers by the end of June about, okay, this is the best one to go with, this is the final price. Phil, the consultant we've got that FEMA provided us at no charge, this is what he does all over the country, not just in CSEP places. He does this all over the United States. He is truly an expert on 911 phone systems and that kind of integration with radio systems. Like Judge said, the price, he's pretty darn close to where we think it's going to wind up as a total package for the phone system, about $750 or so. The prices range from $6 something to $8 something, but Phil's working with the vendors to make sure that we've got apples to apples. So that's kind of what I had for you guys. I would think hopefully sometime in July we'll be asking you guys to allow us to award it so we can get the process started. And the two companies that are in the game are two of the biggest in the U.S. in 911 systems. There were some other bidders, but we would have been their biggest system. We would have been their only public safety system. We didn't think that was the right solution for us. So,
any questions for Carl?
Carl, you do a good job. I want to compliment you.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, these reports that you put out, you set a pretty high standard for reports, you know, because it's very useful.
Thank you.
It's a good summary, and it'd be nice to see, you know, more reports from maybe other departments along this line. I know this, you know, you identify things that are important to measure. Of course, identifying what's important to measure is a big challenge in itself. You know, you can report all kinds of statistics, but are they really what matters? You know, what really matters. And but anyway, it's really good.
Thank you. Good. And we try to give it to you. You know, we realize you can't read the report I'm required by federal law. That's 30 pages of really small font. We know you don't have time to read all 30 pages all the time, so we try to take what's meaningful in there for you and your constituents so that you're up to speed on the things they're probably going to ask you about.
It's like, you know, you got 2 hazmat responses in the month of April. We had two in March, so it's kind of interesting to know how many hazmat responses that we're engaged in, and it's good.
And thank you very much for your involvement and help in the $375,000 towards the new radio systems.
No problem. That one cost me a little bit on a personal level, but it was worth the cold beer to talk about it. But we, you know, there's many meetings and many people. You know, Terry started the ball for us once we shown him why it was so important. But I mean, it went all the way through all levels of Washington, and ultimately it had to go through the Pentagon. So we had a good scientific case for why this was important, and not just, you know, us being greedy or, you know, silly about things. So. And thanks for all your support, because you were involved in one of those telecons. You know what I'm talking about. So thank you guys. Appreciate
it. Thanks, Carl. Let's see. Philip, I know you've got some things you want to talk to us about.
Follow up on the little video that we saw here. KET gave us permission to show this, and they've also given us permission to put it on Channel 46, and I'm getting up with Chris to get a schedule out, because this is important for people to see what's been done here in Madison County and what this body has done, as well as private individuals. In regards to the rest of the parks, I don't dress up in funny clothes every day. The pavilions at most of the parks have been reserved every weekend throughout during the good weather season. We're going to have somebody out there having their Christmas dinner at Whitehall. Well, they could, but probably not. But the word's getting out. Leroy and Scott have helped me immensely in keeping the places mowed and keeping the trash picked up. And it's an everyday job, but we're doing it, and I think people are really liking it. I'm out at the Battle of Richmond Visitor Center. I kind of hate to follow Carl with all this color charts and all this, but we've had approximately 625 visitors this year alone, and we're just now getting into the busy season, representing 32 states and 5 foreign countries. The requirement to get in is they do have to sign the book. Do some people slip past us? Yes, some people do. The Madison County Historical Society and the Battle of Richmond Association, with Historic Properties Division serving as an advisor, is in the process of reprinting When the Right Pairs Fell. This was the first book about the Battle of Richmond. It's the 150th anniversary edition, limited to 100 copies, and it may be sitting out there on the doorstep when I get back to the office. We're expecting them to come in any time. I will be representing Madison County in the Battle of Richmond in Cincinnati on Saturday at the Sisters of Charity commemoration of their involvement in the Civil War. We had 5 or 6 nuns that came here from Cincinnati after the battle, and they'll be representing them. We will be the only battlefield that they came to that will be represented at this service. We'll have the unveiling and dedication of the Michigan Historical Marker on Saturday, July the 21st. We'll have the service there at Mount Zion Church, and then we will go out and walk 30, 40 yards to where the actual marker will be. We're having several people and dignitaries from Michigan to come down for this. As I've stated before, this is only one of 3 Michigan historical markers in the entire state of Kentucky. And they are very excited about this, that we can do something for those soldiers today. In closing, this is Memorial Day weekend. Memorial Day was set aside to honor those who have fallen in the service of our country, in that we can have meetings like this. Now, some people may not think this is a lot of fun, and really, in a way, it's not fun, but there are plenty of people of this world that would love to see our mode of government go away. And they don't want their general public to be able to have a voice in what their government does. And this country has fought many conflicts in order to provide this government to our people. And this weekend, during Memorial Day, it's not just about another day off. It's not about another barbecue or anything like that. But if you go to a service and you're walking through a cemetery and you see that gravestone of the soldier who gave his life for us, remember him and thank him for what he did. There are 2 services that I know of. They are listed on Channel 46, the times, one in Richmond Cemetery, one out the other cemetery on Berea Road. But remember what the true meaning of Memorial Day is about, not just another day off. And thank you very much.
Thanks, Philip. Okay, any other department heads? Keith, we've got your report. Scott?
I'd like to say something about the election. I want to thank everybody that pretty much volunteered to help us out yesterday. We had a card left at the poll and 1 card that didn't read. Otherwise, we've been done about 8 o'clock, but everything else went smooth as silk. Couldn't ask for a better job from our poll workers, so I really appreciate them.
What was the percent turnout?
17. So we're higher in the state. I mean, that's low, but we are
state was
several
14
points higher.
Something,
yeah,
roughly, Kenny.
A few points higher than the state average.
That's something. Jerry, do you have anything? No, sir. Okay, no other department heads. We'll go into comments from magistrates. Greg?
Just all of the good news today. It's just makes you feel good to be able to sit in the seat and see the department heads doing such a good job as they do. And, the revenue's coming in. We're fortunate we can say we're glad that's happening because, through it all is it makes our job easier when the money is always managed right. And I want to commend Glenna for the job she's done. I looked over the budget, and through a lot of it, it's a lot of work, and I appreciate you for what you do. And also Kenny yesterday, as he worked hard. I mean, for the election, it just it seemed like it went smooth. I know he just said he had a couple glitches, but I didn't know that by sitting looking and monitoring the elections. But again, it just shows that all the leadership that is good in place, and the people can rest assured that they're getting the best for their taxpayers' dollars. So, thanks.
Thanks, Greg. Roger?
Yeah, just kind of like what Greg was talking about, the good reports that we've got, but I think it just shows the diversity of our county. If you go to any of these meetings that we go to and talk to some of these smaller counties, it's tough. It's really tough for a lot of them to pay their bills, and they're having to cut a lot of things, and we're just not having to do that like most of them are. And it's I've always said I believe I-75 is a big part of that, because when you're that close to the interstate and people coming from all different parts of the country, you're going to get a little bit of that dollar. So, but everything's going good.
Thank you. Bill Ray?
Yeah, we've got this preliminary budget or first reading, but the thing, and I've told you, is a gnawing concern of mine, is the jail, because, it's overcrowded, and hopefully we alleviate some of that with this home incarceration. But, the bond on that jail, it's an interest-only bond, and in 8 or 9 years, the principal will be due, and that just worries me, what's going to happen to us in 8 or 9 years, because it's overcrowded, and so it's something that just bothers me. I don't have the answer, and I know you don't either, but it's something that we're going to have to deal with sometime in the future, because crime, it just seems like with the drug problems and incarceration, is that the only punishment? Is that effective? I mean, Judd, is it effective in preventing?
That's an age-old argument, Billy Ray, and for some people it's effective and some people it's not. But I think you have to develop a process that you trust and rely on that process.
Yeah.
But it was a surprise to me, certainly when I began prosecuting, how many people that you would think would go to jail can't go to jail because there's no place for them.
There's
the
not room for
incarceration
them.
program is an excellent way to move forward until we have more space.
Well, it was Napoleon that said to punish less often, punish more severely. Wow. I mean, you gotta have some kind of incentive not to commit a crime, and we'd send somebody home, commit a crime, we just send you home. I don't know, but it just gnaws at me.
It's called refinance, Billy Ray.
Pretty simple, isn't it, Judge?
Yeah.
Are you done?
I could talk about taxing districts, but I think I'll just let that lay for today.
Well, you can use that the next meeting if you want to. Judge, I just want a couple comments. One comment, and relay it on to the people that work in the courthouse and clean. I've never seen a building any cleaner. Yeah. I mean,
I've been that way for a while.
And I know they don't get many thank yous, but on behalf of the court, I want to thank them because they do a great job. You can see it. I mean, just walk up down the aisles and go in the bathroom wherever you want to go. I mean, it is clean as it can be, and it's really not fair to you, Jed, but did the county attorney ever say anything about the deal on the money we owe on the sheriff, ex-sheriff? I haven't heard anything. It's been 14 days now.
What, on the
Back
retirement?
pay, yeah.
It's being taken care of.
Okay. Well, I hadn't heard anything, so I just, I'm glad,
Well,
And I don't think it's
Glenna's
as
been
much as
working
we
with it,
thought. Is
and
that right?
Tommy's been working on it, and we just got an invoice.
Okay. Well, I just, it's something I'd ask.
In fact, I've got it on my desk.
Be notified, but I guess I wasn't, but it's no big deal. As long as we're taking care of it, the main thing, right? But other than that, Judge, I'm just glad to be here.
Glad to have you. Comments from the audience? Anybody like to come up? Randall?
Oh, I'll make a comment. You want me to come up?
Yeah, come on up. This is the first time that Randy I was raised with. He was born right across the road from me, along with his other family, and I've known him since I was a baby. And it's the first time I've seen him in here, and I'm glad he came, and I just thought he might want to say something.
First off, I am Randall Lamb, and I live at 601 Pinewoods Road in Berea, Kentucky. And this is my first opportunity to come participate. Give you just a couple things. I first off worked in a factory in management positions for 38.5 years. At this time, I am in early retirement. So thank God for that opportunity, and thank God for the positions we're in here. My purpose of coming today was just come and really learn a little bit about the government, see how we do manage things. As I said, I'm not here to criticize. I'm here to offer support and opportunity to do that, bipartisan, that's for sure. I do think we do have many opportunities. My biggest concern is as I look at our county, and I'm not being negative at all, but especially if you look in the Berea area, we have a lot of industry that's old and aging. I can tell you where I previously worked, we changed names 5 or 6 times. They just changed the name again in last month. That's a concern, is the growth for industry. We can, I can't say enough for our vocational systems and the training of people, and what you just said about the Blue Gas Army Depot and the nerve gas, or that type stuff, those are creating jobs. They're short term. And, I just hope we're looking long term. And as every one of you knows, economic downturn, people say 2008 or whenever it has continued, though, in a lot of industry here in Kentucky. Actually, I can say I felt it in 2007 as I was in Mexico on some business. But anyway, thank you for the opportunity to come and speak, and I hope I'm able to attend more.
Good to see you, Randy.
Thank you, Judge.
Thanks for
Thank
coming.
each one of you.
Anybody else? If not, a motion would be in order to pay the claims and approve the transfers. Who did? Carl, do you have something else?
So moved, Judge.
Second.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Barger?
Yes.
Mr. Hughes?
Yes.
Mr. Combs?
Yes.
Judge Clark?
Yes. I want to thank everybody for coming in. Another excellent meeting, and motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.